My name is David Wortley. I'm the Virtual Conferences Director at IORMA, and it's my pleasure to be interviewing David Smith of Global Futures about education and the impact of technologies like artificial intelligence on education and the education sector. It promises to be a lively discussion with some controversial points coming out of it. So without further ado, I'd like to start by asking David, what is the role of education in this fourth industrial revolution with AI and all the other technologies associated?
That's a great question, because it sort of implies that it's different to the previous era for education. Actually, the fundamental principle of education sort of hasn't changed. It's what we're educating folk for, and the world we're preparing them for, and how we're going about educating them are all completely different because of the fourth industrial revolution. So, you know, educating people about the world and life and you know, how we live our lives and what we do and how we make a living and how we interact with one another is still the purview of our education process. But I don't think what we've got at the moment is fit for purpose for the fourth industrial era.
Right, that's an interesting point. You say that the purpose of education hasn't changed. Can I be devil's advocate and say, well, yes, it has, because it's regarded, I think, particularly in higher education and some of the apprenticeship training people have, is that you're basically equipping people to get a good job. And that's what it's all about, is to prepare people, grade people, and help them get a good job and earn a lot of money. And I would argue, actually, that's shifted quite a bit to something which is quite different to getting a job.
Yeah, now, if you take that perspective, I don't disagree with you, David. The enabling people to make their way in life for a lifespan that may be 100 or 200 years is going to be a very different proposition than preparing somebody with a set of skills that are predictable, that the industry and the economy needs, that you can use to make a living. I agree with that. I mean, I'd hate to think that our higher education establishments were only about churning people out with a set of skills to make a living, but maybe at one level they are. At another level, I hope they've educated them to know how to learn and how to be adaptable and how to be a useful member of society, etc. So, yeah, I totally agree with the fundamental purpose is changed to that degree, but I still do think it's about giving people knowledge they didn't have before, and wisdom and advice and guidance and knowledge and skills to embrace the world, and then being able to adapt to that as they move along and things change.
I agree with you, and my time at university did exactly that. In my opinion, it wasn't about acquiring knowledge or preparing me to go into the work world. It was preparing me for a world. And the thing that I think we can reflect on is the fact that when I was born, the world wasn't that much different in essence to the world that my father was born into. And now we have children being born into a world which is completely different to what their parents is being born into. So surely that creates different challenges for education.
I think it's a massive challenge. That's why I opened up with commenting that our current method, our preferred method of educating is not fit for purpose, our industrialized structure. I mean, if you go back to the sort of, I don't know, late 19th century or even earlier, you know, we had serried ranks of learners, if I put it in those terms, with a teacher in the front divulging information that the others had to absorb. And then we tested them on it at some point. And we've pretty much got the same model until quite recently of educating folk in our world, whether we tutored them or had various other adjuncts to it. Right now, we've got a completely different proposition. The number one thing is, you know, I defy anybody to predict really what their environment's going to be like in 20 years and how they'd make a living and what they might be doing and what skills they need to acquire. So it's not so much that we give you a set of skills you leave at different points in the education process, and therefore you camp on those skills for all your life and you make a good living. I think those days, as you put it, David, are well behind us. You know, the stability of that environment is well gone. We're now in a very, very unstable environment. Some could argue if that's a good or a bad thing, but nonetheless we are. And therefore, how we equipped our relatively young people and older people who need to be re-equipped is a big deal in town. I mean, that's the big issue.
I know there's a lot of talk about equipping people with higher level thinking skills. That's one way of putting it. And that is often argued by people who are implementing things like AI and robotics. And they say, yes, well, yes, there will be jobs that are previously done by humans that will be done by robots. But that allows us to offer jobs with high level thinking skills. Well, surely the point about AI is that AI's got the high level thinking skills. And surely that's a bit of a deceit.
Well, right now we're at the early stages of various forms of data-based knowledge, artificial intelligence, which is brilliant. You know, I don't take anything away from the 400 companies that are releasing this, or 4 more today even, who are brilliant, generative AI. But you do need still people who are able to check the output of these devices and systems, that they are what we want to transmit. So are they writing the right contract? Are they diagnosing the right illness at some level? We need human beings at the highest level of capability to be judges of the output of some of these things. And that may or may not last for a while because of your point. You know, they are getting increasingly smarter, and then ultimately could argue they'll be smarter than we have the capacity to be. But the point is, we're not quite there yet. But the real challenge to me is, going back to education, is how do you get to be from, you know, vaguely educated and trained, leaving school or university, to become the incredibly knowledgeable senior partner in a law firm, or to be a much venerated consultant in a particular sphere in a hospital? How do you get to be that if you don't do the groundwork, if you don't do the years of experiential training and development on the job to get to be that judge of what is reasonable and right? So actually, we've got a big issue on how we get people to get to the level of to be the judges of AI output in itself. And that is where AI comes in the business of helping people to be educated. And, you know, when we talk about training people, it's no longer training people with knowledge or skills. It's training people with knowledge, skills, aptitude, cognizance, and experience. We need to plug into people the experience that they would have got on the job, that they now will only get through having it, I don't mean implanted in some clever technical way, although that is more than possible and increasingly will be. But we do need to deliver all those things to people to become useful, and then keep doing it again and again as we need to change what we're doing.
Yeah, I do agree with you, but as we kind of alluded to or implied in our discussion, is that completely changes the role of teachers and lecturers and professors from being transfer knowledge professionals into something different, maybe coaches, mentors, people with the soft skills to pass those on, or at least motivate and engage their students into being better human beings.
Well, what's quite cool about this is that at its simplistic level, every individual can have a personalized, tailored education program. If you think about education at, say, secondary school level, for example, high school level, or even university level, to be honest, at some point, you can have one teacher stroke lecturer or group of lecturers, and you can have multiple assistants, each one of those assistants personalized to an individual's experience of what they're choosing to learn. Because I think the future is one of highly personalized, I'm going to use the word education again, but it's a bit loose. Well, so what I'm learning is not the same as what you're learning, is what somebody else is learning, and how I'm choosing to learn it, and what my preferred method is, and what I am psychologically best suited to learn in what manner, is all going to be the benefit from using different forms of technology to deliver those things. But I need to be highly motivated and judged and supported and encouraged by human beings. The massive role is, as you say, the coach, the teacher in a traditional sense. So we're going to have more tutor time, if you like, of a teacher in a traditional sense, rather than the transmission of knowledge. We should give that over to technology because it's better at it. And frankly, Khan Academy proved this years ago. I think what have we got in the States? We've got 500. I was reading this earlier. We've got 500 districts in the US. They're using Khan Academy output. They've realized that material is such high quality that they've stopped fighting it and trying to deliver individual capabilities in each high school. They're using what that academy is distributing, and they're increasingly using GPT-4. And I think it was Sal Khan who said that, as far as he's concerned, it passes the Turing test. So the sorts of engagement using technology, and even today's early stage of AI or generative AI, is able to bring massively more personalized learning and styles to individuals, such that our existing institutions accept. So we're on the journey. It's a question is how quickly can we move on this journey to deliver it to people to be more impactful. That's one thing I think is quite fascinating. We talked the other day, David, you and I, about the rate at which jobs are changing and the sort of way we'll make a living in the future. It's the speed of it's the issue. The speed we need to respond to means that we need to get on top of these capabilities early.